this has to do with the Alabama HB 234. We had all discovered it a few months ago, and I believe Mr. Owen asked Joyce about it. She didn't. She came back with news that it did not apply to the $100 million wind turbine project. I called them back, and after talking about it and reading part of the bill, we determined that Jennifer Bird determined that it did apply to the $100 million wind project. So I've asked Joyce to go back and get that in writing in some form. So as of right now, she's still waiting on that. See what I got here next. Okay, this has to do with 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. This has to do with radio services on the mountain. It's commonly known that radio transmitters do not behave well with wind turbines. The large metal structures blocking radio transmitters, the blades moving, passing between the transmitter and the receiver, and of course the radio magnetic field that is around the generators can also affect the radio transmitters. And another thing you might not think about very much, the radio transmitters can also affect adversely the control on the wind turbine. So they're not compatible to be around each other. What I've identified in here is about 200 licenses for radio stations that are located on Turkey Hill Mountain. Some of them are cellular, some of them are broadband. We've got an FM broadcast station up there. We've got all of our county, or most of, Steve might clarify that if I'm incorrect, but most of our county services are on the mountain up there. The FAA, the gas companies, railroads, all kinds of services. I've broken this down for the list of every one of those customers or groups that have transmitters on the mountain up there. So somebody needs to be calling these folks and let them know what's going on. Also up there, the amateur radio repeater that serves for emergency backup for the county. Should the county services be unavailable, ham radio community is on standby to ride in the cars with public service to, in the past, before we moved over here, we had a station set up at the OEMA. Randy's supposed to be talking to Steve about getting that going again, or if they do it from some other location. Obviously, we can't do it from here because we can't put the antennas up, but ham radio repeater is on that mountain. And the only way to fix this problem, in my opinion, is to find another mountain that's bigger or taller, another taller location that's centrally located. And I don't know if that's going to be an option. And do you have any idea how much we'll spend setting that repeater up on that mountain?
As far as the county's investment, we probably got, and I guess you're talking about everything. You're talking about
the county tower with everything's on it.
We probably got right at $120,000 worth of equipment.
Okay. Securing property would be an issue too going forward, I would imagine. In addition to moving everything that's there.
Yeah, and it would be far down the road if there was a problem, if it ever did locate. So, I really haven't seen anything scientific that would suggest that. But it's not that it doesn't exist, I just haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I urge all of you to do your own research on that and decide. I know that it's not unusual for a wind company to come in and say somebody that lost their TV service because of wind turbines, they might give them cable service, pay for the cable service, something of that nature. So we know radio waves are affected. We just don't know exactly always to what degree. So something to please look into and be aware of. But I thought you'd find it interesting that there's that many licenses up there, there's that many organizations that have been affected. As far as endangered species, Ryan asked me about that a long time ago, and he kind of dismissed it. I guess the wind folks told him we didn't have anything to worry about. That was kind of, to paraphrase and summarize, that was the conclusion we came up with. Just to clarify, that we do actually have some protected and endangered species in Cleburne County. The main two that we need to be concerned with wind turbines would be the gray bat, the Indiana bat, and the red cockaded woodpecker. But you can read over this and decide for yourself how you want to feel about that. The Freedom of Information thing we did just recently, I had a couple of questions about some of those things. This particular letter has to do with Steve's request to investigate some of the potential noise problems, noise issues with wind turbines. As we all know, there's an ongoing lawsuit. The wind companies fighting as hard as they can to build wind turbines here. And local folks out there paid a whole lot of money already to try to stop it from happening. And then we end up in the shadows of wind turbines. But what this says is Steve's trying to figure out a way to do some proactive assessment on what the sound impacts may be. And the wind company's saying that because of the lawsuit, they can't do that. I would encourage you all to, however you have to approach it, to try to go ahead and make this happen. The lawsuit's a separate issue, I feel like. Private citizens chose to file a lawsuit, but in the interest of preventing a public nuisance, I think you should consider trying to move that along somehow. I realize they're going to be tight-lipped with a lawsuit, but maybe you guys can figure out a workaround for that. This is just a little news article I wanted to share with you. It's and I want to talk to you next month about something I didn't have time to prepare. It has to do with the public nuisance versus the private nuisance. I haven't found in the state code where it's your responsibility to help private businesses make a dollar, but I have found in the state code where it's your responsibility to protect the people of the county from public nuisances. What this is talking about in this article is Brown County, Wisconsin. They have done some pretty serious studies up there on the noise and vibrations. They found that they got complaints out to 4 miles away from the wind turbines, and that the same effects that were causing complaints out to 4 miles could actually be measured scientifically out to 6 miles. So they've got noise issues out to 6 miles, but the complaints fall within 4 miles or less. So what happens when you have these noise issues is the number one effect is not some disease like the flu or arthritis or whatever, it's sleep deprivation. And in this next article, you see starting on page 2, it talks about sleep deprivation categorized by the United Nations as a form of torture. So I think what they're trying to say here is that if it is deemed to be torture, the United Nations could come in and hold you guys responsible for not taking the action you need to take to protect the people of Cleburne County before this thing gets built, before it happens. It's one of these situations where you have to do it in an anticipatory fashion because it's too big to undo it. If we build a $200 million wind turbine project out there and it runs people away for 3 or 4 miles from their home, 3 or 4 miles from the turbines, what are you going to do about it then? You can't just undo a $200 million project and say, oops, we made a mistake, it's too late. So whatever studies you're willing to do, or maybe some proposed regulations to try to get by the state, it needs to be done now. It doesn't need to be done after these things get built. I've got one more thing about the road closure. We asked in here, different people asked at different times about the road closure. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe anybody knew anything about a road closure. Emmett, did you tell us that you said bring it to a meeting, you heard about it at some point, said bring it to a meeting?
Well, one of the meetings I was in, with Mr. Lane, I was invited, and they asked would the commission entertain if they asked for the road to be closed, would we entertain it? And I said, well, we're just here to listen to what you got to say. You need to bring it to the commission, discuss any road closures with the commission. That's the only thing I said. I think I said that in one of the meetings.
Mr. Brooks, Ryan reminded me that it's in your district, the road out there is in your district. I don't believe you mentioned that you've done any kind of road closure or anything. You hadn't had any meetings about closing roads?
No, I haven't talked to anybody about that. I've had some people have asked me that live there about that. Again, it's not been discussed about what will be done about that. So we hadn't really discussed anything about the wind turbine tonight in months yet.
The way this letter starts off from Robert Sias of Territory Power, it says, we would like to enter into an agreement with the county at the time we decommission County Road 852. Without hearing the rest of this conversation and knowing what's already been said, it sounds to me like the decision to close the road has already been made. Just my layman's ability when it comes to the English language, that's the way I'm reading it. The decision's already been made.
Where did you get that information
At the time we decommissioned County Road 852, we would like to enter into an agreement with the county. It sounds like the agreement's already been made, because this is talking about an agreement to pay $50,000 to the county.
Where did you get that information?
It's on the piece of paper you look at.
Then, well, tell you, go ahead and read it.
I'll just read it to
That's the
you.
first time I've heard about it.
I'll just read it to you. Judge Robertson, we would like to enter into an agreement with the county at the time we decommission County Road 852, period. The agreement would be conditioned to the end of the project lifespan, or should the Terrigen power cease to exist. Then the county would agree to take back control of the road and maintenance that goes with it. The road would be improved from the condition it is in now once the project begins construction. At the time we enter into an agreement with the county, we would pay the county a sum of at least $50,000. I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for, but I hope it helps. If needed, we can start working on the agreement framework to get a document put together we would both be comfortable with. Time and time again we ask about this, but until we got this.
Not since I've been in office, this is not at any time since I've been in office have I heard this.
That's what I was trying to say.
The first of the sentence says we would like to enter into agreement. That don't mean agreement's been reached. It says that's saying we want to agree.
But read the last half of the sentence, at the time we decommissioned County Road 52.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like the decision to decommission's already been made, but I'll let you guys decide how you feel about that. That's all I got for today, but I do want to come back next month and talk briefly about one more thing about the public health, or the public nuisance versus private nuisance. The folks have spent, I don't know how many thousands of dollars filing for a private nuisance, but I think that I can point out to you in the state code where maybe the county commission needs to do something too. Thank you very much for your time.
But I'd like to, clarify this, as far as being addressed, this is the email you received, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, at no time does this email, if an email, if there's a letter, there's a way to follow this email, at no time does it show that any of the commissioners received this letter.
You are correct.
So we know of it now. So I'm just trying, what I want to point out to you is you're saying that we knew about this email. Well,
I didn't mean to imply that y'all knew about it, but it just sounded to me like some kind of decision had already been made. So Ryan told me that it would be Mr. Brooks that would make that decision. And I just want to make sure that there wasn't more to the story. It also says in that last sentence, I believe, next to the last sentence, I'm not sure if this is what you were looking for, but I hope it helps. Ryan, would you like to elaborate on that?
First of all, Mr. Brooks, when cannot make the decision by himself to close that road.
Right. That's what
There's a
it's
process that it goes through.
There's three others have to agree on whatever decisions are made on any.
And to close the road, there has to be a public hearing, and it takes a month ahead of time. So, I think it's probably a typo there when you said that. But I just shared that with Steve, apparently, this was something that if the wind turbines were coming, would the county commission consider? And so, and I've explained the process to them. If they tried to close the road, it would have to go through a process. And Mr. Brooks, it being in his district, would have to make the first motion in the hearing process.
I guess what disturbed me most about that is that it sounds like that's not an opening introductory to the discussion. It sounds like that there's more to that conversation. But I'll leave that with you. That's all I got for today. Thank you.
Mark.